Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Flawless 195. This is flight 98 of 210. It's Zimbabwe to Botswana in capital cities Harare to Gaborone. Departure time is expected to be 12:45 local time in about 10 minutes. Get the plane set up now. And the total flight time is expected to be about an hour and 15 minutes. So we'll get up there, cruise for about 40 minutes. And back down we come. We haven't got ILS into Seretse Khama International Airport, I think just north of Gaborone. We haven't got ILS, but the flight route does take us in, line us up with the runway. Should do anyway. That's the plan. It should perform some turns as we get in, and then I'll take manual control once we're lined up with the runway. So it shouldn't be a problem. That is about all. Please do drop me a like. If you do have any questions regarding the Flawless 195 World Tour, then please do get them in the comment section below. And if this is your first flight with us, please do watch the route explainer video on the channel. If you're having to scroll back, I think I did about 25 flights and then I did the route explainer video. So if you're scrolling back looking for it, about 25 flights in, I do the route explainer video. And we are near enough the halfway point. I think I've worked out that the big flights, the big one to the Seychelles and back is flight 107, 108. So we're nearly there. We're 10 flights away from the nervy 3-hour to the Seychelles and back again in the Dar with limited autopilot. So yeah, that's going to be a full day because like I say, I've got to do them both in one leg. So stay tuned for flight 107 and 108. That could be a nervy day, but like I say, we get back from the Seychelles, then we're going to be over halfway, and it is game on from there on in. But yeah, Zimbabwe to Botswana, here we go. I will continue the Lemino documentary that we started in the last flight that was from Malawi to Zimbabwe. We'd had about 50 minutes, so we're about halfway through, about a third of the way through that thing. We'll get another hour or so of it now. I'll whack on that new documentary. It's just come out. And we'll get underway. Shouldn't be any dramas. Like I say, no ILS, but the plane should line us up with the runway. And let's get the plane set up now, and we'll get underway. Welcome to flight 98 of 210, this Flawless 195 World Tour. Please do drop me a like, get yourself subscribed. I will get the plane set up now. And hour and 15 minutes to Gaborone, Botswana from Harare, Zimbabwe. Let's get it on.
Attention to illuminated signs and crew instructions, including the following safety procedures. The safety card found in your seat pocket contains important information about exit routes, oxygen masks, life jackets, and the brace position that you must adopt if you hear brace, brace. There are 8 emergency exits on this aircraft. The cabin crew are now pointing out the exits nearest to you. Please be aware that your nearest usable exit may be behind you. Emergency lighting will guide you to an exit. In an emergency, leave all baggage on board. Your seatbelt is fastened, adjusted, and released as shown. It must be fastened when the seatbelt signs are on, and we recommend that you keep it fastened at all times. If the air supply fails, masks will drop from above you. Pull a mask towards you to start the oxygen. Put the mask over your nose and mouth and breathe normally. Hold the mask in place with the strap. Pull on each side to adjust. Put on your own mask before helping others. If we land on water, take a life jacket from under your seat. Remove from the pouch and put it over your head. Pass the tapes around your waist and click together. Pull the strap to adjust. Do not inflate it inside the aircraft. When outside, inflate it by pulling the toggle. If it fails to inflate or needs topping up, blow into this tube. There is a light and whistle for attracting attention. The cabin crew can assist you with life jackets for children. Your tray table must now be stowed, armrests down, window blinds open, and seatbelt fastened. Further information regarding your safety on board can be found in the in-flight magazine. We hope you have a great flight.
For about 15 to 20 minutes before the project was prematurely terminated by an Air Force colonel who was apparently overseeing the facility. Nevertheless, according to Davis, those few minutes were enough to transmit brief snippets of audio to each of the 4 selected targets. 2 of them were never publicly identified as far as I can tell, while the other 2 are known as Epsilon Eridani and Tau Ceti. Epsilon Eridani is home to one confirmed planet with a mass nearly identical to that of Jupiter. While additional planets could exist, including ones that resemble Earth, Eridani is a relative newcomer to the Milky Way family at approximately 500 million years young. On the other hand, Tau Ceti is certifiably ancient. Its precise age remains unclear, but it's definitely older than the Sun and home to not just 1 but 4 confirmed planets. On top of that, there's a slim chance that 2 of them are grazing the inner and outer bounds of the habitable zone. That being the distance from the star at which water could remain liquid on the surface of an Earth-like planet. Unfortunately, both of these stars are surrounded by immense belts of debris, not unlike the asteroid and Kuiper belts in the solar system. The difference is that Epsilon Eridani and Tau Ceti retain asteroidal and cometary populations many times greater than what currently orbits the Sun. While this makes perfect sense for a youngster like Eridani, it's a lot more concerning for a galactic grandparent like Tau Ceti. It implies that something is either preventing that material from coalescing into planets across billions of years, or that the system has suffered a recent cascade of instability. In either case, more stuff almost certainly means more impact events, like the one that nearly wiped out the dinosaurs. But even if we optimistically assume that none of that's a problem, the mass and size of the planets orbiting Tau Ceti are highly uncertain. There's a good chance they have less in common with Earth, and more so with Uranus and Neptune. But even if that isn't the case, the chemical makeup of Tau Ceti appears to be quite different from the Sun, suggesting its planets are composed of materials quite different from those that spawned life in the solar system. In summary, it's not looking great. Now, it may seem pointless to consider the habitability of these distant worlds when the message we send towards them is completely indecipherable. I mean, if you thought the aliens were gonna struggle with the golden records, good luck to them figuring this out. But just like the Arecibo message, the artificial nature of the signal is a message in and of itself. If you want to believe there's a naturally occurring phenomenon capable of producing the exact same radio waves as those emitted by Joe Davis and his team back in 1986, you go right ahead. But somehow I have my doubts about that. Presuming the message was received and correctly identified as a technosignature, we could have received a reply from the Eridanians as early as 2007, or the Cetinites as early as 2010. I did some checking and regretfully have to inform you that humanity's been ghosted once again. About a decade after the message to Altair, the National Space Development Agency of Japan began hosting an annual space camp event for young children known as the Cosmic College. Students could choose from a bunch of different activities over the course of multiple days, including a class on how to write and send interstellar messages. In fact, one of the astronomers invited to lecture at these events was none other than Hisashi Hirabayashi, one of the creators of the Altair message. But it wasn't just a theoretical exercise. NASA actually arranged for some of those messages to be transmitted into space. Once a year, between at least 1995 and 1998, simple bitmap images measuring 11 by 11 pixels were sent from the Yasuda Deep Space Center to various locations across the galaxy. These transmissions received next to no publicity at the time and are virtually unknown to this day. This makes it difficult to know exactly what was sent where and when. Here's what we do know. The first Cosmic College was held in August 1995, during which this image of two parents and a child was beamed towards some unknown destination within the constellation Libra. Even less is known about this image of an alien holding hands with a human, transmitted sometime in August 1996. This time we don't even know the general region of the sky to which it might have been sent. In August 1997, two bitmaps were beamed towards a binary star system known as Spica. The first image depicts a smiley face, while the other shows a Japanese dumpling known as a dango next to a steaming cup of tea. Unfortunately, Spica is a ticking time bomb because the two stars are expected to slowly encroach upon one another, which could trigger a supernova.
Cabin crew seats for takeoff.
Future. Even if that wasn't the case, they're far too young to host an Earth-like planet, and even if that wasn't the case, it would take another 5 centuries for any replies to reach us. Finally, this image that simply says 1 + 1 = 2 was transmitted to some unknown location in August 1998. Now, there could be more of these transmissions that have been lost to time. For instance, an image of a leaf to symbolize the nature of Earth appears to have been designed during the Cosmic College of 1999, but I couldn't find any information on whether it was actually beamed into space. While competitions, art projects, and recreational programs certainly could generate an alien response, their primary function is to elicit a response from us down here on Earth. They're inspiring, provocative, and generally attract a lot of attention. So it was only a matter of time before someone came along and began charging a fee. In early 1998, American entrepreneur Charles Schaefer announced a commercial venture known as Encounter 2001. The project sought to crowdfund the launch of a tiny, light-sailing spacecraft that would carry samples of human DNA beyond the solar system. For only $50, anyone could submit a few strands of hair along with a brief message and their portrait and join the so-called Millennial Voyage. Market analysis by Schaefer and his team projected sales of anywhere between 1.5 and 4.5 million tickets before the launch date. If those figures seem a bit optimistic, they were nothing compared to the expectations of their customers.
Me and my girlfriend can't have children, and in a deep philosophical way, this may be one way for my genetic makeup to live on, with a minute chance that it might be recovered by another species and we might be recreated, and I could fall in love with my girlfriend all over again on another planet.
This idea that aliens might one day use your DNA to clone your body was surprisingly prevalent. For instance, the greeting submitted by renowned science fiction author Sir Arthur C. Clarke simply read, "Farewell, my clone." While the Millennial Voyage was the project's main objective, they also promised to beam participants' greetings into space ahead of the launch using a radio telescope, a side project that would come to be known as the Cosmic Calls. By spring of 1999, some 43,000 people had signed up for Encounter 2001, including 2 Canadian astrophysicists named Yvan Detil and Stéphane Demas. Detil and Demas had been given the task of creating what's known as a primer. A primer attempts to gradually introduce the recipients to more complex ideas using some sort of step-by-step process. For instance, the primer to the message to Altair were the 13 bitmaps sent alongside the far more complicated greeting in Japanese. Detil and Demas did something similar for the Cosmic Calls. They created a primer composed of 23 bitmaps, and this first one starts off by listing the 10 digits of our decimal system using 3 different notations: unary, binary, and decimal. An idea they appear to have lifted from this image on the Golden Records, which did almost the exact same thing. But there is of course one very noticeable difference. The one from the Golden Records uses the familiar glyphs of Arabic numerals, whereas the primer to the Cosmic Calls uses these alien-looking symbols. That's because Detil and Demas decided to create their own rudimentary language of sorts. Now, this might seem like an odd choice because whether, say, a 2 looks like this or like this, it's not going to make any difference to the recipients. But it's not about readability, it's about redundancy. You see, there's a lot of naturally occurring radiation that could interfere with the radio transmission between the source and destination. Imagine, for instance, that we transmitted 15 bits arranged like this to represent the number 8. If this one bit in the middle was flipped along the way, the recipients would pick up a 0 instead of an 8. Flip this bit and the 8 becomes a 6. Flip these two and it becomes a 5. In other words, this transmission has no redundancy whatsoever. Lose one bit and the entire message could become corrupted. The glyphs created by the Tillandama were designed to be as fault-tolerant and noise-resistant as possible. There are several bits of difference between all the symbols, and that still holds true even if they were to be mirrored or rotated. But apart from the symbolic difference, the Cosmic Call Primer follows a structure that should be very familiar at this point. The first 5 pages cover various mathematical concepts that gradually increase in complexity. The next 6 delve into chemistry and physics, including a schematic of the solar system. The next 8 are all about Earth, humanity, and biology, including a rendition of the Pioneer Couple and a 2-page map of the continents. Page 21 contains information about the transmission and telescope, while page 22 brags about our cosmological knowledge, like the age of the universe. The 23rd and final page invites the aliens to respond by asking them a series of questions using this flower-looking glyph as a stand-in for a question mark. For instance, this means velocity, while this means photon, so this question could be read as, what is the speed of light? But how could the aliens possibly know that these symbols mean question, velocity, and photon? Well, it all comes down to that first page of numbers to which everything else is anchored. The aliens would start by hypothesizing that these 10 symbols represent 10 digits in a base 10 numeral system. With that assumption locked in place, they'd move on to the next page and find 1 something 1 equals 2. Okay, so they now suspect that this symbol represents addition and make similar assumptions regarding subtraction, multiplication, and division. Once they get to page 4, they'd know that this reads something plus 2 equals 3, while this reads something plus 4 equals 10. Given that the same symbol is used to represent what is clearly not the same value, they might suspect that this is a placeholder for a variable quantity. In other words, this variable represents something unknown, a bit like a question mark, emphasized by this symbol off to the left. By gradually introducing new symbols alongside familiar ones in such a way that logic and process of elimination can be used to fill in the blanks, it creates a lot of mutual corroboration between the pages. By page 8, they'd be introduced to the concepts of time and length via hydrogen, followed by velocity and photons via the speed of light. To be clear, there's still plenty of room for confusion and misinterpretation, not least of all because a few typos did actually slip through the cracks. For instance, according to this line on the 7th page, uranium is said to have 116 neutrons, but there is no such element. The lightest known isotope of uranium has 122 neutrons, and the most abundant here on Earth has 146, which is probably what they meant. But even if the primer had been flawless, there's only so much hand-holding one can do when you don't even know if the recipients have hands. In addition to the primer, the language created by the Tillandama was used to write a message about the Millennial Voyage. This was followed by a copy of the Arecibo message, greetings by the staff at Encounter 2001, as well as the 43,000 names and greetings from people around the world. With assistance from prominent Russian astronomer Alexander Zaitsev, Schaefer and his team then obtained access to the Eupatoria Deep Space Center in southern Ukraine, and the first cosmic call began broadcasting on May the 24th, 1999.
Greetings from Terra, or Earth, the third planet in the Sol system. As a member of the human race, I would like to extend goodwill to you and your race.
Give us a couple 100,000 years before you plan to visit us, please. Right now, we would have to run around saying, excuse the mess.
I hope the International Space Station program will succeed. I hope peaceful universe, and I hope we can find friends in the universe.
This message comes from 5th grade students of Earth, the third planet from the Sun and part of the Milky Way galaxy. We are peaceful humans. Please answer.
There is life and diversity everywhere you look on our world. I hope the same is true on your world. Life should be common and treasured.
Caution. We humans are a confusing and confused group of bipeds. We need guidance and desperately seek help for our very survival. We offer versatility, curiosity, humor, fear, and love.
Unlike many previous initiatives, which received very little attention from the press and public, the cosmic calls were a global phenomenon. In fact, the project received so much attention that officials at the National Space Agency of Ukraine got a bit spooked. The plan was to beam the message to 4 nearby star systems, but after the first transmission on May the 24th, Ukrainian officials suddenly shut the whole thing down. According to Zaitsev, rumors had begun circulating that the reason Encounter 2001 were using the Yevpatoria Deep Space Center was because they'd been denied access to American facilities out of concern it might be dangerous to transmit messages into space. In reality, other radio observatories like Arecibo were simply not available on the dates requested. It had nothing to do with malevolent aliens. Zaitsev spent over a month explaining this to the agency before Schaefer and his team were allowed to resume broadcasting on the last day of June. The first target was 16 Cygni A sun-like star that's part of a ternary system. In other words, it's a system of 3 stars, with Cygni A being encircled by a small red dwarf labeled C, and together they orbit another sun-like star labeled B that's nearly 6 times further away than Voyager 1 is from the Sun. While Cygni B does have 1 confirmed planet, it's an enormous gas giant that patrols the entire habitable zone, making it impossible for an Earth-like planet within that region to maintain a stable orbit. While the transmission was specifically directed at Cygni A, the situation doesn't improve much because, as far as we know, it doesn't have any planets. Instead, it's orbited by Cygni C at about twice the distance between the Sun and Pluto. It's definitely possible for an Earth-like planet to be sandwiched between them, but it all comes down to the precise orbit of Cygni C, which is currently unknown. The second target was Gliese 746, a binary system composed of a sun-like primary and a smaller companion of which very little is known. The distance between them is less than that between the Sun and Mercury, so there's no chance of finding an Earth-like planet in a stable orbit around either one. However, there is such a thing as circumbinary planets that orbit 2 stars at once. With a system as tightly bound as Gliese 746, there's plenty of space for such a planet to exist, but so far, nothing. The third target was 15 Sagittae. It could be described as a binary system because Sagittae A is orbited by this tiny companion labeled B, but Sagittae B is what's known as a brown dwarf that falls somewhere between a planet and a star. It's dozens of times more massive than all the planets in the solar system combined, but still not quite massive enough to shine like a star. Apart from Sagittae B, no other bodies have been detected, and the system is a bit on the younger side at approximately 2.5 billion years old. Finally, the fourth target was Gliese 777A, a sun-like star that is once again encircled by a red dwarf companion. Except this time the two are separated by such an enormous distance that it takes them upwards of 100,000 years to complete an orbit. Nevertheless, the target was 777A, and it's home to 3 confirmed planets. 2 of them are many times more massive than Earth and are practically hugging the star, while the third is a bit more massive than Jupiter and is much further away. In between them lies the habitable zone, which does appear to be stable enough to host an Earth-like planet, but none have been detected to date. While all of these stars are within the general solar neighborhood, we still have to wait until the 22nd century until any response could relativistically be received. A fact that might come as a disappointment to some of you, but no doubt a relief to others.
You see, it's not that I'm paranoid. I feel that there will be many civilizations that want to be our friends. However, it only takes one with a contrary point of view to ruin our day, our existence. Before people start sending signals into space on my behalf, I'd like them to ask for my permission.
But it wasn't just the general public. A growing number of experts had begun to question the ethics and wisdom of deliberate communication attempts. Among them was Carl Sagan, who as early as 1983 began arguing in favor of listening rather than sending. Not so much because he feared invasion, but because he felt that contacting aliens was premature. He wrote that it is not yet clear that we have anything particularly interesting to say due to what he described as our backward status. In other words, a baby civilization like humanity probably won't have much to offer one that's been around for millions or billions of years, so we should prioritize intelligence gathering before we start shouting at the sky. But astronomers like Alexander Zaitsev strongly disagreed with that position, essentially arguing that we must not give in to fear of the unknown. Sure enough, just a few months after the first cosmic call, Zaitsev and others began work on yet another message. In early 2000, a youth community center in Moscow was preparing to host a festival to celebrate the new millennium. During the preparations, an astronomy teacher named Boris Chanichner suggested to some of his students that they should create an interstellar message to be presented during a space-themed portion of the event. The project was spearheaded by two teenagers named Igor Kiselev and Vladimir Filipov, who quickly devised a message composed of both music and pictures. Once the project had been approved by a committee that included Alexander Zaitsev, it was decided to transmit the message sometime the following year to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the first crewed spaceflight by cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin in 1961. Zaitsev expanded upon the ideas of Kiselev and Filipov by suggesting the message be divided into three distinct signal types: constant, continuous, and discrete. the constant signal would be sent first to let the aliens know they've picked up something strange. That probing beacon would then transition into a continuous signal conveying the musical component of the message. Finally, 2 discrete frequencies would be used to broadcast binary coded images. According to Zaitsev, the 3 formats represented a language of nature, emotion, and logic. A total of 9 musical compositions were selected, and Zaitsev proposed using an electronic instrument known as a theremin, partly because it generates a smooth monophonic signal with minimal overtones, but also because the theremin was a Russian invention. The visual portion of the message was composed of 28-bit maps primarily designed by Kiselev Filipov. The first image depicts a wave within a circle, which is meant to convey to the aliens that the circle's diameter is equal to the wavelength of the transmission. If they correctly make that guess, the next image is meant to be scaled so that this circle, with a human face in the center, matches the diameter of the circle from the previous image. Doing so would enable them to decode other components, like how this wavelength corresponds to a spectral absorption line of water. Without going into too much detail here, it's meant to highlight the significance of water to life here on Earth. While some of the illustrations try to convey information using science and logic, a lot of it was artistically motivated. Life inhabits the ocean, land, and atmosphere, represented by dolphins, humans, and birds, that the aliens will of course have no chance of deciphering. The 10 circles along the edge, numbered 1 through 10, not only symbolize our use of a base 10 numeral system, but also correspond to the next 10 images. The first of which is this side view of our galaxy with an arrow pointing at us. The second is a schematic of the solar system. The third gets a bit closer. The fourth gets closer still. Then there's a family, a house, and a close-up of a person. Towards the end, there's also a yin and yang symbol, 2 games of tic-tac-toe, and an illustration of the telescope used to transmit the message. But it doesn't end there, because the next image is the same emblem we saw before, except the 10 outlined circles have now been filled in with the 10 preceding images. Exactly why they're laid out in this circular pattern in this particular order, or even what function it all serves, I couldn't tell you. But again, the emblem was intended to be both informational and artistic. Following the emblem sequence, the next 3 images contain some text written in both Russian and English. Approximately 1,000 students between the ages of 13 and 18 participated in the project, and this is an extreme abbreviation of their many proposed greetings. It very innocently ends with,
"We wish you peace and love,"
signed by
the children from the Earth.
The final 12-bit maps depict illustrations that we've already seen, each one captioned with a brief description in both Russian and English. They're meant to function as a sort of dictionary with the hopelessly optimistic goal of teaching the aliens how to read the aforementioned greeting. The 3 components of the message, starting with the probing signal, followed by the music and the 28-bit maps, were then transmitted from the Yevpatoria Deep Space Center on August 29th, 2001. Much like the first cosmic call, the teenage message was transmitted multiple times over multiple days, this time to 6 different targets. The first one was Gliese 797A, an as of yet planetless but sun-like star that forms a wide ternary system with 2 smaller companions. The second target was 37 Geminorum, a solitary sun-like star that has yet to show any signs of hosting a planetary system. Target number 3 was another sun-like star known as 47 Ursae Majoris, which is home to 3 confirmed planets. They all appear to be gas giants, and the one closest to the star is grazing the outer edge of the habitable zone. Because it's more than twice the mass of Jupiter, its immense gravity renders nearly the whole outer half of the habitable zone completely off limits. An Earth-like planet within this region simply wouldn't be able to maintain a stable orbit. But if such a planet were to be located further inwards, things look a lot more optimistic. The fourth target was Gliese 547a. Once again, it's a Sun-like star that forms a wide binary system with a small brown dwarf companion. Apart from that, no planets as of yet. Target number 5 was yet another Sun-like star known as Gliese 327 with no confirmed planets. It does, however, show signs of being surrounded by either one or multiple belts of debris, but the precise mass, composition, and extent of this debris remains to be seen. Finally, the sixth target was Gliese 788.
To me, the firing these signals at places or stars that got fuck all there. You've got billions of options, and you're firing them at empty houses. You're firing them at houses with no lights on, mate. What am I missing here? You've got... Or maybe they didn't have the technology that they've got now to say, right, that's got a habitable planet round it, and it's relatively close, fire it there. Surely if they did this now, they'd be firing at places where it looks like, right, there's a planet within the habitable zone of this star. This is looking a good candidate for life. You know what I mean? To me, this just seems like, oh, well, there's a star over there. Has it got any planets? Oh, fuck no. Send it anyway. What are we doing here? What's the point of it then? It's just a marketing exercise, isn't it, really? There's no hope in this. Because they're just firing it into the abyss like, oh, well, there's a star over there. What's it called? Gliese 782. That'll do. Chuck it there. Well, but there's fuck all there. There's a star with nothing going round it. Well, brilliant then, isn't it? So no chance. You know, even though there's a 0.0001, well, they're making that a 0.00, aren't they? What's going on here? From all of these signals that have been sent to wherever they've been sent to, I've not seen one where he's actually gone, yeah, to be honest, there's 3 planets circling in the habitable zone. One of them's likely to have life because it's got water, this, that, and the other. This is a great candidate. And that's where they've sent it. I go, all right, it's a bit scary. I'm a bit dubious about the whole project anyway. Because do we really want to be announcing our existence? I'd say probably not, to be honest. It's interesting. And, you know, it's fascinating, but would I want to be advertising that we're here and we're just chilling and we haven't really got the technology for intergalactic war? Probably not. But that aside, there's no hope or objective in this. This is just, why are we sending it there? Why are we sending it to these locations when there's fuck all going on? So, waste of time. The whole thing's a waste of time, isn't it? It's just a marketing exercise. There's no actual hope with this anyway. So, waste of time.
It is yet another solar analog with neither stellar nor planetary companions.
Well, that sums it up. It's just a star on its own with no planets, nothing. So, what are we doing? Wasting everybody's time is exactly what they've been doing, whether it's in 2001, 1978, 1963, or whenever they bloody sending all this. All of it's a waste of time. At least if they were sending it, because I feel like the messages are pretty good. Like from what he's been going through, I feel like the messages are pretty good. Like, all right, they might not be able to work it out even if they got it, but there's a chance that they could work out whatever. It's quite clever how they've sent these signals, right? But they're sending them to nobody, or not even with a chance of an alien species being there. It's just sort of like, oh well, there's a star over there. Send it. Well, wait, you know, who's there going, well, wait a minute. Are these... what's going on here? What a waste of time. At least send it to, like... I've heard of Proxima Centauri and Proxima B or something, where it's like the nearest star. I think it is the nearest star to us. And it just so happens to have a planet in the habitable zone and that. Why are we not sending something to Proxima? Even though, like, if you were going to do it, send it there. But I've got reservations about doing it anyway. But if you were going to do it, send a signal to Proxima B, whatever it's called. You know, it's the nearest star, and it's got a habitable a planet orbiting that sun in the habitable zone, whatever, right? Send it there if you're going to do it, or maybe not that one, but maybe there's another one, you know, that looks really positive. That there will be stars out there that scientists will know now. They'll be like, well, look at that, you know. That planet there, it's got signs that there's water on it. It's in the habitable zone. You know, there'd be boxes that are ticked, and they're sending them to where no boxes are ticked. Oh, fucking send it anyway. Well, so it's all just been a waste of time up to now. From what I've heard from this documentary, it's all just been a waste of time. It's interesting and the messages are good, but where are we sending them? Nowhere.com. Anyway, I'll
All
carry
but
on.
one of the targets are more than 50 light years away, so the minimum response time is over a century.
Why
The one
bother
exception
then?
is 47
All right, a century. All right, it's not. What's that? 100 years. But the thing is, they could have better targets. Is what I'm trying to say. The targets of where they're sending these are wishy-washy, just shouting into the abyss, and you could be. The targets could have been better, surely. This is a waste of time. Anyway, I'd be dubious about doing it anyway. But if you're going to do it properly. Don't go through all the effort of developing this binary system message with this in it and this encoded in it and this, you know. I respect that. It's really clever how they've managed to encode pictures within binary and all that. Very clever. But then you're sending them to fucking nowhere. So pointless. Anyway, it's interesting anyway. Yeah, well.
So we could hear back from the Majorans as early as 2092.
Well, brilliant. Well, I'll be looking out for that. Well, no, I'll be exactly 100 years old in 2092. If I live to 3 digits, I'll be lucky. Anyway.
As the name Encounter 2001 would seem to imply, the Millennial Voyage was scheduled to launch by the end of 2001. But shortly before the start of that year, the project was quietly rebranded as Team Encounter. While it's difficult to know exactly what was going on behind the scenes, it seems like they vastly overestimated the public's interest in sending messages into space. As mentioned before, the team expected to attract somewhere between 1.5 and 4.5 million customers. A few months after launch, they had sold 45 tickets. While sales ramped up quite a bit before the first cosmic call, 43,000 customers was still a far cry from the millions they had anticipated. With such lackluster performance, the company had no choice but to push back the launch date of the Millennial Voyage by several years and change the name to Team Encounter. But even after significant delays, a few celebrity endorsements, and numerous attempts to get people interested, sales lagged behind expectations by a wide margin. By the summer of 2003, the company's main investor finally pulled the plug, and the project was summarily abandoned. While this meant the Millennial Voyage was dead, Team Encounter did at the very least uphold their promise of transmitting a second cosmic call, the composition of which was very similar to the first. Just like before, it started with a primer designed by Ivan de Til and Stéphane Demas. However, they actually created a new set of glyphs, even more noise-resistant than the first. The 23 bitmaps were also redesigned and combined into one large image, but the contents of the primer stayed more or less the same. This was followed by a copy of the Arecibo message, a few images from the teenage message, a description of the now cancelled.
See, this is all clever.
Greetings by
this is all clever. The fact that they're able to create these symbols and these hieroglyphs and everything. That's all very clever. I don't doubt these scientists that come up with these messages. You know, it's fantastic. But where they're sending them is abysmal work. That's the impression I'm getting from this, is great messages, no objective on where the bloody hell you're sending them. So it's a waste of time. The message can be fantastic, superb, and explain the entirety of the human race from start to finish. But if you're sending them to fucking nowhere, then pointless. So that's my opinion, and we're over halfway through this, but that's what the impression I'm getting is. Very clever to come up with these messages, but they're being sent to places that don't even have planets. So,
last but not
what are we
least
doing?
was the commercial payload. This included not just the names and greetings of more than 100,000 customers, but also more unique contributions like a chatbot program called Ella, the contents of an entire website, and the song Starman by David Bowie. All of which was of course converted into binary before being transmitted into space from the Eupatoria Deep Space Center on July the 6th, 2003.
The people of the planet Earth send their greetings and friendship to you across light years of interstellar space. The message we send to you today contains information about our solar system, our planet, and ourselves. We invite you to contact us and to share your knowledge, culture, and wisdom. May this cosmic call open an exciting dialogue between our two stars here in the Milky Way galaxy.
Much like the first cosmic call, the second was beamed towards multiple targets. There were 5 in total, and the first one was Gliese 67. It's a binary system composed of a Sun-like primary and a red dwarf companion that takes about 20 years to complete an orbit. While neither one is known to harbor any planets, and the distance between them is less than that between the...
Point in case. Well, neither of them are proposed to have any planets going round them. So pointless. So move on. Keep looking. Keep looking. What are we doing here?
Sun and Jupiter at closest approach.
Keep looking then.
Apart for an Earth-like planet within
this is absurd.
Zones to maintain a stable orbit.
The
second target was Gliese.
Do you know what? Right, it's that bad. It's that bad. I almost wonder if it's on purpose. So, all right, well, this is a bit dodgy. Should we really be making contact with another? Well, yeah, it's a bit dodgy, isn't it? Should we just send them to places where we know they don't have planets? Yeah, we can just send it. You know what I mean? Yeah, we've got these messages where it explains exactly where we are, who we are, what we do, what we like, where exactly where we're located to an nth degree. You know, do we send it to there where they've got a planet in the habitable? No, I won't do that. What about that one? What about that star there where there's nothing going around it? Yeah, fire it there. That'll do. Yeah, it's that bad that it's almost as if it's on purpose. That's the impression I'm getting. It's that bad. Where these signals have been sent, it's that bad that it's almost like someone at the 11th hour or someone in charge has gone, should we send it? Yeah, we better not do that. Well, that one's got a habitable planet and it's only 10 light years away. What about that one way over there with fuck all going on around it? You want to send it there? Yeah, send it there. Well, we don't want a reply. We don't want to. You know what I mean? Let's just don't really advertise it. Just say, oh, it's a star. You could just call it Gliese 208. Yeah, Gliese 208. We sent it somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Is there any chance of anything being? No, listen. There's no planets within 100 light years of it. No chance that anyone's going to invite. Right, thumbs up. Send it there. We're definitely just sending it into the abyss here. Yeah, but we're sending it. That's what we're being paid to do here. We're being paid to send these signals. Where they get sent, it's up to us. It's up to us where they get sent. Are we going to send it to somewhere where we could get a response where some alien species could live? Oh, that's a bit dangerous. Just send it over there where there's nothing going on. It's that bad. It's that bad that it's almost like it's on purpose. What a waste of time.
It's only about half the size and mass of the Sun and forms a wide binary system with an even smaller companion. No planets as of yet, and it could be as young as 500 million years, which would make
no planets as of yet. Then move on. Keep looking.
Target number 3 was
ridiculous.
55 A, a star that's a bit fainter and colder than the Sun, with a distant red dwarf companion. It's the host of 5 confirmed planets, with the 4th one, dubbed Harriet, orbiting within the habitable zone.
Send it to Harriet,
Harriet's
then.
mass is at least 3 times.
That's the first one.
It's not the very.
That's the first one I've heard where there's a planet in the habitable zone. They've called it Harriet. Right. That's the first one I approve of. Go, right, thumbs up. Send it there. At least you've got instead of a 0% chance, you've got a 0.000001% chance. Well, at least. Fucking make it worthwhile.
Likely candidate for
what a waste of time.
But it's not inconceivable for life to have emerged on an Earth-like moon in orbit around Harriet.
Get in.
Not only that, but it is possible for an Earth-like planet to maintain a stable orbit within the outer half of the habitable zone.
So get in.
Simulations suggest that such a planet is far more likely to have formed just outside of it.
Oh,
the 4th target
was
47 Ursae Majoris, which was previously the target of the teenage message, making this the first time we've signaled the same star more than once. Finally, the 5th target
of all the billions of options, we're sending
in common with the 2nd target.
Of all the billions of options, we send with 2 different messages to the same place. Who's managing this? This is atrocious.
A red dwarf about half the
Who is in charge of this?
That probably forms an extreme
of where they're being sent. Who's in charge of where they're being sent?
While a planet with a mass of more than
they've sabotaged the entire mission
around the primary, it's unlikely to be habitable due to its proximity to the star.
Unlikely to be habitable. Then move on. Keep looking.
To host a communicative civilization.
What are we doing here?
Nevertheless, Gliesa 49 is.
This is humanity to a T. Great intentions, but we're fucking it up, man. We've got good intentions, but we're hopeless.
Flies could reach us no sooner than 2067. Now, 2 years after the second cosmic call, in the small European Republic of San Marino, Hungarian astronomer Ivan Olmos
San Marino, we've done that on the world tour.
For quantifying the risk of interstellar messages. According to this scale, a transmission like the Arecibo message carries a risk of 8, which is characterized as a far-reaching threat to humanity. Meanwhile, the 2 cosmic calls and the teenage message supposedly carry a risk of 7, giving them a threat level of high. While the risk factor is partially determined by objective metrics like signal strength and duration, it's also based on the contents of a message. This makes the San Marino scale inherently subjective, and it also fails to consider other crucial factors.
Hang on then, what's a 1? Oh shit. Oh, so it's 10 is the word. Oh, right. Far-reaching, outstanding, extraordinary. Well, maybe they don't want to send a 10, innit? So they've sent like a what did he say? They've sent like a 5 and a 6 and a 7. Maybe they don't want to send a 9 or a 10, where, you know, send it to the nearest habitable planet that we know about. Maybe that's a 10, and they say, oh, we're not going to send any 10s. maybe, you know, maybe, you know, we really want to send a 10. If it was up to me, I wouldn't send nothing. Like Carl Sagan said, you want to be listening rather than sending. You know what I mean? You want to be listening. Although it is interesting to send, you know, it's interesting, but it's a bit risky if you send in 10s. So maybe that's why they're sending them to these stars that it's dubious whether there's even planets going round it. Well, you know, it's a fucking 3, innit? We ain't getting a response. And guess what? We don't want a response. You might. Hey, you who made that decoded message and it took you 10 years to make, you might want a response. Listen, I don't. So we're sending it to fuckknowswhere.com. Maybe that's what it's all about. It's just, well, listen, we've sent the message. You wanted me to send the message. I've sent the message. Where have you sent it? Well, don't worry about that. Don't worry about where. The point is, you've come up with a message. We've sent it. Where have you sent it? Well, you know, have a coffee, have a flapjack. Just don't worry about that. Have you definitely sent it? Yeah, we definitely sent it. Yeah. So have you sent it to somewhere? Don't worry about where we've sent it. It's gone. The signal's gone. Trust me. It's not here now on this hard disk, on this hard drive, is it? You see what I mean? It's gone. It's gone. They don't want to send 10s, do they? They don't want to send 10s. They're sending 3s and 4s. Oh, send it. Oh, there's nothing going on over there. Fucking send it there. Oh, that's the impression I get anyway. There's no effort being put into where they're being sent. No effort whatsoever.
The San Marino scale is a fascinating development because it highlights just how contentious the transmission debate had become. Many prominent figures within the SETI community, that being the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, had become a lot more hesitant or outright opposed to what had come to be known as METI, Messaging Extraterrestrial Intelligence, a term coined by none other than Alexander Zaitsev during the creation of the teenage message. Pushing back against this growing opposition to METI, Zaitsev reasoned that in a galaxy where everyone is listening and no one is speaking, someone has to make the first move. He called attention to a poll showing that 78% of more than 140,000 SETI enthusiasts were in fact in support of METI. What he doesn't mention is that over half of those same respondents were still unsure if the aliens they were hoping to contact were more likely to be friendly or hostile.
They'd be hostile. I think. Why would they be friendly? What's in it for them? I don't think if we were in a position to do interstellar travel and go, I don't think we'd be friendly, would we? We'd be going there going, right, we need to see what they've got. Because if they've got something that we need, we're having it. We wouldn't be friendly, would we? If we had that kind of technology where we're going from star to star and fucking having a look round, we're just coming, we'll just have a look. We're just having a look. We'll just have a boom in the rain. Would we, right now, as a human race is now, if we had the kind of technology where we're dipping from star to star, we're there in self-interest at the end of the day. That's how human race is. It's about self-interest. Why would they not be? They're just going to say, all right. And we go, you all right. They go, we're on our way. We're on our way, you know. And then what we're going to do, are you? And they go, yeah, I'm coming having a look. You're coming having a look. Yeah. We've not got much here, I promise you. We've got a lot of salt water. If you can give you a bit of salt water, we've got plenty of that. No, don't worry. We're just coming having a look. Yeah. Oh, we're just coming out. We've got. We can give you a diamond. We've got some diamonds. This I think it's rare. You know, we can give you a diamond. Don't worry. We want to see for ourselves. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be good news, would it? If someone was coming here it wouldn't be good news. If we were going somewhere else, it wouldn't be good news for whoever we're going to, would it? It's not going to be good news. It's not going to be... No, there ain't going to be an alien species rock up here and just go, this is nice. Look at your waterfalls and your trees and your beautiful valleys and you hit... Oh, right, it's pretty good, right? See you later. Bye. No. No. Fucking, I'm definitely in that unsure category. I'm definitely in the, I'll be careful. I'm definitely in the, just be careful. Just be careful. Because we're not in a position, I think Carl Sagan said earlier on this, that he brought that quote up in the early in the documentary. We're not in any position to be shouting out yet. Because we're not... Once we're powerful and interstellar and, we've got the weapons, we've got the technology, we can go to you. If we can't get to you, you don't want anyone coming here. Do you get what I mean? If we haven't got the capability to get into you, then you don't want anyone coming here. Because what are we going to do? It's hands up, innit? Someone arrives here now in a mothership. It's hands up. Whoa. All right, chill out. It's one of them. What are you going to do? Get the AK-47s out. Fuck off. We've got a nuke. Fuck off. You know what I mean? No chance. So we're too early to be shouting about. You know what I mean? It's like the small kid at school giving it big lick, bang, knocked out. He doesn't give it big lick anymore, does he? You know what I mean? It's like the small kid giving it big I am. No, you're a small fry. Get back in your box. It's like that. We're not in a position technologically to be giving it big I am. We're nowhere near. We're not a threat to nobody, are we? If they can come here, we're not a threat, are we? Because we can't even get to Mars, and that's the nearest planet to us. We struggle getting to the fucking moon. We can't even get to the next planet. So imagine someone coming from light years away. We can't even get... they come here. What's your technology? Well, we're working on getting to the next planet. Fuck off. Boom. You know what I mean? We've got this really smart human called Musk, and he's working on getting us to Mars. What's Mars? That's that planet over there, the nearest one, that red one. Well, so you haven't even got there. No, but we're working on it. We'll go, in the next 50 years, we're going to get there. Fuck off. You know what I mean? We're nothing in terms of technology. If they can get here, we're done for. Anyway, that's my 2 pence. Anyway, we've got to be descending, haven't we?
NASA to launch a mission to Pluto. At the time, it was the last unexplored planet of the solar system, and even our most powerful telescopes could resolve nothing but a nebulous disk. After numerous failed attempts to secure the necessary funding, the spacecraft New Horizons was successfully launched on January the 19th, 2006.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition and liftoff of NASA's New Horizons spacecraft on a decade-long voyage to visit the planet Pluto and then beyond.
After borrowing some extra speed from the almighty Jupiter, New Horizons finally caught up with Pluto in 2015. At the time of the launch, Pluto was still recognized as a planet, but only 7 months into the mission, it was reclassified by the International Astronomical Union as a dwarf planet, a decision that remains somewhat controversial to this day. Although strictly semantically speaking, a dwarf planet is still a planet. It's right there in the name. Anyway, much like the Pioneer and Voyager probes, New Horizons continued on into deep space, destined to leave the solar system and roam the galaxy. Yet, unlike its predecessors, it does not carry a message. According to lead scientist Alan Stern, the inclusion of a plaque was brought up during the planning stages, but he ultimately rejected that proposal out of concern it might spark some sort of controversy that could take focus away from the mission. Not unlike what happened back in the 70s when actual adult human beings realized that underneath our clothes is not more clothes. Given that New Horizons was but the latest in a long series of failed attempts to launch a mission to Pluto, Stern did not want to risk yet another delay or worse. But as stern might have been regarding a deliberate message.
Well, we've now started our descent into Seretse Khama International Airport, Gaborone, Botswana. So we should be down on the ground in about 20 minutes or so. Like I say, the flight path should line us up with the runway nicely before I have to take manual control and get it down. Hopefully we'll get through these clouds pretty quickly and we get some sort of, the visual is good. Hopefully it's not thick cloud all the way down. Hopefully it's just a layer of clouds and we can just punch through it. And other than that, should be down in about 20 minutes, so I'll continue this documentary for a bit. We are now inbound. We are on the descent to Botswana. Let's go.
He was not opposed to the inclusion of 9 symbolic items described as mementos placed within the nooks and crannies of the spacecraft. The most significant of which was this aluminum canister containing the ashes of Clyde Tombaugh, the American astronomer who discovered Pluto in 1930. Shortly before his passing in 1997, Tombaugh requested that his cremains be launched into space, and what better way to honor that request than to sail him past the planet that he discovered. The other 8 mementos included 2 flags of the United States, 2 state quarters, one from Maryland and one from Florida, honoring the states in which the probe was built and launched, a chunk of Spaceship One paying tribute to the first successful crewed spaceflight by a private company, a postage stamp describing Pluto as the only planet not yet explored, an off-the-shelf CD on the port side loaded with the names of more than 400,000 people who signed up during an online campaign, and another CD on the starboard side loaded with notes and photographs of people responsible for designing, building, and launching New Horizons. According to Stern, these artifacts were more efforts of the heart than the head, and were intended for us here on Earth, not whomever might stumble upon the probe in the distant future. In fact, commercial CDs degrade over time and become unreadable within decades or a few centuries at most. Although those estimates assume an Earth-like environment, not a spacecraft floating through the vacuum of space while being shielded from a lot of otherwise damaging ultraviolet radiation by a thermal blanket. Somehow, longevity estimates for a CD being stored in those conditions never came up in the search results. Anyway, the lack of a deliberate physical message bothered some people enough that in 2013, one of the makers of the Golden Records, John Lomberg, launched a campaign to create a digital one. The idea was for people around the world to submit sounds, images, and other material that could be uploaded to one of the memory banks aboard the spacecraft. While there was a lot of public support for the project and Alan Stern was open to the idea, the One Earth message never materialized. After a failed Kickstarter campaign in 2017, Lomberg stated in 2020 that NASA had initially said yes, but later changed their minds. Even if the project had succeeded, the One Earth message would have been no less symbolic than the 9 mementos because just like a compact disc, computer memory degrades over time. Even in the most optimistic of circumstances, we're talking centuries, possibly a few millennia at best. While it is a bit disappointing that no deliberate, lasting message was included with New Horizons, let's not forget that the probe itself is a message, one that would provide any recipients with immediate confirmation that they're not alone. Although that's presuming, of course, the probe is ever found. As I'm recording this, New Horizons has not been directed towards any particular star system, but that could change in the future. Following its encounter with Pluto in 2015 and this malformed space potato in 2019, the probe is now gliding through empty space while astronomers keep searching for additional flyby targets. So far, none have been detected, but the probe has enough juice to keep going until at least the 2040s. So, a few decades from now, shortly before it runs out of power, NASA could choose to steer the probe towards the star system in its general direction of travel. While such a course-corrected voyage would still take untold eons and humanity could be long gone by the time it arrives, I think it would be quite exciting to know that one of our foremost ambassadors was headed for something rather than nothing. In early 2008, a man named Martin Lewis approached NASA with the idea of beaming the Beatles song Across the Universe, Across the Universe. As a Beatles historian, Lewis sought to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the song's recording, and NASA seems to have agreed because the year also happened to mark the 50th anniversary of the agency's founding. Using a massive antenna at a deep space communications complex located west of Madrid in the middle of Spain, the nearly 4-minute song was beamed towards Polaris, the famous North Star, on February the 4th, 2008. Former Beatles member Paul McCartney approved of the message by saying,
"Send my love to the aliens."
But it's highly unlikely for Polaris to be inhabited. For one thing, it's not a solitary star, but a system of 3. The primary is a supergiant that's about 2,500 times bright.
Again, they're sending it to somewhere where nothing is.
And nearly 50 times larger.
It's
than
on
the Sun.
purpose, this.
Placed at the center of the solar system, its radius would extend about halfway.
Oh, it's a bright star. It's the North Star. Send it there. Is there anything there? No. Doesn't matter. Send it there. So there's no actual effort with where they're sending these. In fact, it's almost the reverse. It's almost purposely bad. It's purposely bad. I'm telling you.
Mercury.
Purposely
Meanwhile,
bad.
its closest
There's
companion
nothing
is
there.
a bit more massive than the Sun and takes nearly 30 years to complete an orbit.
So there's no chance.
Binary pair is then encircled by a third star that's many tens of Pluto orbits away.
So there's no chance.
No planets have been discovered as of yet. But
This is the
running
running theme. No planets have been discovered as of yet. Well, we're sending it there for. There's billions of options. But so it's on purpose.
Could be found within one of the star's habitable zones. Polaris probably hasn't existed long enough for intelligent life.
I can't even.
While
This
the
is
two companions
sabotage.
could be as old as 2 billion years. It seems like the primary has only been around for a few tens of millions. As if that was not bad enough, Across the Universe won't arrive until the middle of the 25th century because Polaris is more than 400 light years away.
So absolutely pointless. So, hang on, let me get that straight. It's arriving to somewhere that doesn't even have any planets in another 400 years. Who's approving this? Who's thinking that's worthwhile? When you've got star systems that can be maybe 10 years away, 5 years away, 8 years away, that kind of distance. So then, say if it's 8 years away, 16 years to get something back. Why are we sending something 400 years away and there's nothing there when it gets there? They don't want contact, do they? They don't want it. They don't want that kind of heat. I don't blame them, actually.
In the spring of 2008, the brand Doritos launched a campaign in the United Kingdom called You Make It, We Play It. The idea was for members of the public to create a short commercial about Doritos, and the winning entry would not only be played on national television, but also beamed into space. From a radar station in the middle of Svalbard in the Arctic Circle, a 6-hour loop of the 30-second advert departed Earth on June the 12th, 2008.
Who's funding this? Who's funding a Doritos advert going into space? Because you're high on meth.
The target was once again 47.
Oh my God,
meaning
brilliant.
They now dispatched 3 separate messages
Oh,
to this
brilliant,
star.
brilliant.
Presuming the Majorans are listening, they'll be hearing the teenage message in late 2046.
Yeah.
The second cosmic call in
Yeah.
late 2048.
So would it be...
And an unprompted admission that we like to hasten our mortal doom by voluntarily consuming dusty triangles of death sometime in late 2053.
Oh
Response
my
time,
God, we're absolutely spamming him, and there's nobody there, and we're spamming it. We've sent 3 messages to that one single place that doesn't have any planets.
In the summer
we're
of
spamming it.
2008, a now defunct social media platform named Bebo
We're
launched a project.
we're spamming this star system for no reason when there's a billion other options. Who's funded this absolute atrocity?
Known as
What a
message from
waste
Earth.
of time.
It primarily functioned as a publicity stunt to advertise the website, and like so many initiatives before it, crowdsourced the creation of a message.
I'm unsure
inviting
about
its
visibility
users to
coming in
submit
here.
text and images. Some untold number of submissions.
I'm
and
gonna
several months
I'll
later,
keep the
the
thing here.
501 most upvoted entries were
Oh
beamed
my
into space
God, I don't
from
like
the
this
Eupatoria
cloud
Deep
here.
Space Center on October the 9th, 2008.
Right, let me zoom in a bit.
Our bodies are made of bones. We have senses: smell, taste, sight, and touch.
Swear
Without any
down.
of these things, we wouldn't live.
I
swear
love
down.
television. We watch animated cartoons and real
Oh,
life drama on it.
God,
I could sit and watch television all day.
And where we sending this
I wish
message?
I could be alive to see the day contact between the two worlds is made.
honestly.
I've been born way too early.
Not one of these
Considering
messages.
that this was open to the internet.
Not one of these messages. I've thought, well, that's a good idea. You know, there's a real chance. This is interesting. They're all just been sent to fucking no one.
I strongly suspect many messages were a lot less sanitized than what we just heard. But since participation required you to be logged in and Bebo went offline in 2013, very little of a message from Earth has been preserved. Nevertheless, the target was a red dwarf known as Gliese 581.
All
That's
right.
a lot smaller, lighter, fainter, and colder than the Sun.
Okay,
What this
doesn't
means
sound
is that
good.
an Earth-like planet within this system
Okay.
has to orbit very close to its star to
Okay.
receive the same amount of energy as the Earth.
Is there a chance?
So close, in fact, that the outer edge of the habitable zone around Gliese 581
Yeah.
is closer than Mercury is to the Sun
Right.
by a wide margin.
That
With
sounds
planets orbiting
extremely
so
close.
It makes
Yeah.
them vulnerable to flaring
Oh,
events.
so no
and
chance.
it just so happens that red dwarfs have a penchant for sudden bursts of
so no
radiation.
chance.
Not only can these eruptions have a sterilizing
So
effect
pointless
on
again.
planets, but if there's one thing that life on Earth does not appreciate, it's sudden and dramatic changes.
So
to the
pointless
planet.
again, in
Not
other
that we
words.
would know anything about that now, would we?
Oh,
the
this
good
is
news is that
ridiculous.
Gliese 581 has a better chance than most of hosting.
Oh,
a
better
planet
chance than
planet
most.
Because
Well,
it's very
all the
old
others have got
and therefore
zero
a lot
chance,
less
so it's
active
not
than
hard, is
many
it?
of its younger siblings. It's also quite
Ridiculous.
close at less than 21 light years,
Right.
meaning a reply could arrive as early as 2049.
Right.
Even more promising is that shortly before and after
Look
a
at this
message from
cloud
Earth
here
was
that we're flying
transmitted,
into.
astronomers
Jesus.
discovered not just one, but 2 planets a few times more massive than Earth, orbiting within the star's habitable zone.
This is an interesting land, isn't it?
Unfortunately,
Look at the state
follow-up
of this.
studies failed to corroborate those findings, suggesting the initially planet-looking signals were nothing more than noise. Unless additional planets can be found in the future, any remaining hope of life falls to the 3 confirmed planets that lie a bit further inward.
Yeah.
However, due to their even greater proximity to the
Oh
star
my
with
God.
orbital periods of
There's
only
no
a few
ch-
days,
no chance.
chances are they're less Earth-like and more Mercury-like.
Oh, so pointless. Right, I might pause
to
it there.
commemorate the 400th
I might pause that there. We'll continue on when it's the 400th anniversary. So remember that, because I feel like this landing might be a bit unsighted. Look at the state of this cloud cover. This might be the worst cloud cover I've seen on the world tour. Look at this. It looks like a volcanic eruption. And we're flying straight through that as well, I think. It's also hard to gauge what altitude we're at as well, because 7,000 might not be accurate. Should we come down to 5? I'll come down to 5. Yeah, I think we need to concentrate on flying the plane now, because this is a bit dodgy, innit? Yeah, let's concentrate on flying the plane now, because this is a bit of a... This is a bit of a dot. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get much visual here, are we? Well, maybe when we're a couple of thousand feet off the ground. But yeah, whoa, this is really well, interesting. I know we're flying past that. Wow, right, we're going into the cloud now. Okay. Wow, this is... Oh God, if it's like this coming in to land. What time is it? I've got an hour yet. Wow, we don't want this kind of visibility at ground level. Just make sure how high we are off the ground, yeah, because we're not, yeah, okay. Wow, this is bad. If you can't tell, this is not ideal visibility, this. If it's like this in a dodgy place like Bhutan, Nepal or something like that, I'll just bail out and turn around. I'm not going to risk this if there's any mountains around. But looking at the VFR map here, there's no elevation of any kind, so we're not in danger of hitting a mountain or anything. But visibility-wise, this is atrocious, isn't it? Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slow it down. There's no harm in slowing down now. Doesn't matter. I'm not climbing, maintaining nothing, mate. We're going down to 140 as well, exactly what we're doing. I feel like we're going to be relying on this. We're coming in pretty quick, aren't we? Here, look. Come down to 3. Why has it started us all the way up there on the fucking thing? Right. Stay like this for a minute because yeah, look at us, we're at 2,100. Actually, this is dodgy actually. Right, flaps 1. Oh, this is really bad visibility. Well, there's no visibility whatsoever. Let's turn the game audio up a bit. Right, this is a really interesting scenario. Right, let's get the wheels out. Oh my God, we can't see a thing, can we? This is really bad. Getting the flaps out for landing and stuff. We've slowed it right down now. At least. Well, you can see the ground there from this view. Right, we'll go full flaps. Wow. Yeah, so we're 1,300 feet off the ground. That's about right, to be honest. Oh, we can see a little bit. Oh, it might not be too bad actually. I'm just gonna stay here. This is good. This is good because at a moment's notice I can just. Oh, this is not too bad now. We've got a bit of visibility. Thank God for that. Right now we're looking for a runway. We should be directly lined up with it. It's not that. It's not that to the left. It's not a runway there, is it? It should be directly ahead of us. So I'll get ready to get the autopilot off when I see a runway. I'm actually quite happy with this now. We've come down enough and we're slow enough now to give us enough time and everything. I think I can start making out a runway there dead ahead of us, to be honest. So we're actually alright. We're being blown around a bit, but seatbelt signs are on. You know, we're at landing speed, so it's all very cautious, but it's exactly how I want to be. Yeah, it's all very cautious, but yeah, look at that. We should be lining up perfectly with the runway here. Yeah, look at that. I'll get autopilot off in a sec. Once I see the runway, which I think I can see over there, just appearing out of the mist. but we're low enough where I don't need much notice really. I can get this thing down the ground pretty quickly from here, from 1,000 feet, so that's good. Yeah, I think I can see it there. Yeah, I think I can see it there, so we'll get autopilot off. Yeah, I can see it there. This is good. You know, it's overcautious, but so it should be. We're nearly halfway through the world tour, and we've got bad visibility landing into Botswana. I've got every right to be risk averse with it. This is exactly the right thing to do. Come down to this kind of altitude. We're underneath the cloud cover, because we could be punching through the cloud now, and it really would be a last minute thing. But as it is, we've actually done this in the right way. I'm just going to line it up, because we're not perfectly lined up, but yeah, we should be all right from here. He says. No, we should be all right from here now. Under manual control now, obviously, and let's bring it in nicely. Thank goodness that it's not just a whiteout. We can actually see where we're landing. Doesn't seem to be much of a crosswind or anything like that, so should be pretty straightforward. It's looking pretty good as we are right now. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Might be a bit high up here. Let's just come down a bit. But looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Looking good. Looking good. Looking good. Looking good. Looking good. Okay. Idle throttles. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. And there we are. We are down in Serseretsi Khama International Airport, Gaborone. On a cloudy day, that's for sure. 23 degrees is the outside air temperature, and the local time is 2 minutes past 2 in the afternoon. But we are down safely, despite the miles of thick cloud. Where we parking up? We've not really got a... I'm just going to go here. Just going to go here at 11 o'clock here. Yeah, I'm not going to even venture over there with vehicles and stuff in the way. This will do us, actually. This will do us nice enough. Down on the ground in Botswana, nice and safe. Soft touchdown, no crosswind. And there we go. I'll call it a day there. So what did it predict in terms of time? It told us an hour and 15 minutes. So let's have a look. There you go. An hour and 16 minutes and 8 seconds from Zimbabwe to Botswana, from Harare to Gaborone. We are down safely. That is flight 98 of 210 complete. Hope you've enjoyed the documentary. We'll have one more part. How long's left in that documentary? About a third of it. So yeah, about 45 minutes or so of the space documentary to go. So one more flight with that. And do join me next time for connecting flight will be to Windhoek, capital of Namibia. So it is Botswana to Namibia next, before then going to South Africa. So yeah, I don't need to tell you that we are in the south part of the African continent with that coming up, and then we sort of wind our way back up the eastern coast of Africa before heading over to Madagascar and then the Seychelles. Like, I think the big one, like I said, the Daha TBM leg to the Seychelles and back is flight 107, 108. So we're 10 flights away. Or less, 8 or 9 flights away from that nervy day of flying into a field in the Seychelles and back in a tiny aircraft. That's going to be nervy. But this one has been done without much issue. The visibility coming in wasn't great, but once we got underneath that cloud, 1,000 feet up, just cruised it in for the last 10 minutes, and that was the golden ticket. Risk averse, not really the way you'd do it in real life, but it's the way I'm going to do it to make sure we can see the runway and get down nice and safely. It was a good touchdown, but yeah, not much else to say. Please do drop me a like on the video. Please do get yourself subscribed, and like I say, hit the bell icon to receive all notifications of future flights of this flawless 195 World Tour. That is flight 98 of 210 complete. Join me for flight 99. It is going to be Gaborone to Windhoek. Thank you very much for joining. I've been Captain Wilson. This is Flawless 195, and you know the drill. The World Tour continues. Thank you. See you next time. Bye for now.